Want a corn dog?
Sure.
Then your mom should have bought you one.
The last episode of Futurama Season 7 is episode 26. The episode was considered to be the last of the series until a new season was announced after 11 years passed since the last episode. The episode centers on Fry and Leela's love life. The episode starts off with Fry and the crew going to an amusement park on the moon called Luna Park. Whooshing sounds are heard as Bender laughs and whoops while getting off the spaceship. The scene is set on the moon, and Leela reminisces about their first delivery together. They visit a balloon sculpture stand where Fry requests a sculpture of Leela, and the artist impresses her with their skills acquired from 5 years of art school. The scene ends with a pained grunt. The grunting is as a result of spending 5 years in art school only to become a clown. Bender goes on a crazy ride, and next to him is a kid that he ends up offering a corn dog to. The kid accepts. However, Bender then makes a snarky comment and tells the kids that his mother should have bought him one. Leela and Fry also get on the ride called the Mecha Hexadecapus, which flails erratically into action, causing chaos and making Bender vomit. Bender's vomit jams the gears of the ride, causing it to abruptly get stuck. This caused Leela to be thrown up into the air, breaking the glass that was shielding the Luna Park from the harsh environment on the moon. Leela screams, and then seemingly dies after being shot up into space. Next, Leela is quickly rushed to the hospital. Fry laments that he never told her he loved her, but is reminded by Bender that he actually told her 140 times, to little avail. A door opens and someone delivers the news that they found a stuffed animal, but then reveals the bad news that Leela is dead. However, it turns out that Leela was not actually dead, but that she was inside a plushy toy, and that had survived as a result of breathing air from the balloon that Fry bought for her at the Luna Park.
Leela, please. And, use your finest balloons.
So there is no bad news. Fry rejoices after seeing Leela back to life. Fry knocks on Bender's door and asks if he can come in to talk. Fry reflects on the recent events, including Leela's survival after crashing through the moon dome and breathing through a balloon. He realizes that he can't spend his life without her, and plans to ask her to marry him the next day. Bender listens and responds with a sing-songy tone, indicating that he's not particularly interested in the conversation. He sniffs and cries a little while, commenting on Fry's growth, suggesting that he's becoming more mature. The Planet Express crew gathered around the table while Hermes excitedly makes Jamaican joy juice and slurps it. The professor walks in excited and held up a small device called the Time Button, boasting about its ability to send the entire universe 10 seconds into the past. With a trill and a whoosh, the professor demonstrated the device, exclaiming, "Pretty cool, E!" after he transported himself back 10 seconds. The friends were amazed, but did not fully understand it because everyone's memory was deleted 10 seconds back. The professor decides that they should try it for themselves. The professor led them to his time shelter, a structure coated with anti-chronoton-resistant grout to protect them from the effects of the time button. They all crowded in, eager to experience time travel. Zoidberg then shows up, say he picked up $10. The professor got the money from Zoidberg and pressed the button, and they were transported back 10 seconds. Once again, Zoidberg shows up and excitedly announced that he had found $10, which had fallen off a man who got into a taxi. They all laughed and applauded after seeing the power of the time travel machine. But the excitement didn't end there. The friends begged the professor to keep using the time button, to go back in time over and over again. But the professor explained that the button took 10 seconds to recharge after each use. However, he eventually gave in and pressed the button again, sending them all back in time once more. Fry asked if the time button could make a special moment last forever, but the professor firmly stated that the button was only for scientific use. As the button beeped and Zoidberg groaned with each use, the friends continued to enjoy their 10 seconds time travel adventure. Fry and Bender walked into a jewelry store and asked for an engagement diamond. The jeweler showed him a beautiful diamond, and Fry stole diamond. He does this multiple times, ending with many diamonds. Later, the man tried again to propose to his love, Leela. He took her to the roof garden on top of the Vampire State Building and asked her to marry him. She was surprised and didn't answer right away, but he had a plan to make the moment even more special. Fry tells Leela that if she should meet him at exactly 6:30 at the top of the Vampire State Building, if she accepts the proposal, and if she doesn't accept, she shouldn't bother showing up at all. But Leela didn't show up. Fry waited and waited, but she never came. He was heartbroken and felt like he had no future without her. After waiting for a long time, he tries to end his life by jumping off the Vampire State Building. He said goodbye to his love, feeling defeated and alone. After jumping off, Fry spotted Leela from afar and realized that his watch was fast and that Leela was actually on time for their meeting on the roof garden. He was relieved and happy until he realized that he had already jumped off the building. He uses the button but gets stuck in a time loop and continues to free fall. Leela also notices Fry falling. Meanwhile, the professor and his friends discovered that the time button had been stolen, and Bender tells them that Fry was the thief.
You see, we're shielded in here, so if we leave the time shelter and the button gets pressed less than 10 seconds later, the anti-chronotons wouldn't know where to send us back to. We'd be shredded across the time-space continuum like human coleslaw. Yum! Observe!
The professor makes it clear that they couldn't leave the time shelter because they were afraid of getting shredded across the time-space continuum because the button is being pressed too many times within a small amount of time. Back on the roof garden, Fry kept falling from a great height and hearing Leela's scream over and over again. He was stressed and exhausted, but he couldn't escape the time loop. Eventually, Fry falls to the ground and dies. Bender and his friends came up with a plan to get the time button back from Fry. Lee presses the button to save Fry but ends up killing the professor because he was out of the protective bubble. Fry's friends formed a human bus and crashed into Fry at 40 miles an hour, hoping to activate Bender's airbag and save him. The plan worked, and Fry was saved from death. But as Fry was landing, he ends up breaking the time travel button accidentally, freezing everything and everyone except for Fry and Leela, who were near the time button. After spending some time alone, Fry proposed to Leela, and she said yes. They realized that life was precious and that they should cherish every moment together. They were grateful to be alive and in love. They even end up having a wedding. During them wedding, they notice some glimmering light rapidly fly by. This annoys them a lot. They decided to spend their honeymoon exploring the world and drinking the champagne that had been poured for them years ago at the Vampire State Building. In the end, Fry and Leela realized that they didn't need anyone else to be happy. They had each other, and that was enough. They were content to spend the rest of their lives together in the frozen world, exploring and enjoying each other's company. After spending what seemed like an eternity in the frozen world, Fry and Leela get disturbed by the glimmering light again. To their surprise, Professor Farnsworth walks out of the glimmering light alive and well. He explained that he had been searching for the time button and had been tunneling through time for decades, but he was stuck in a state that only allowed him to move at right angles. Fry then shows the professor the time button and tells him that he tried to fix but failed and damaged it even more. The professor then fixed the time button and then modified it to release a single huge anti-chronoton blast. This would rip them out of stasis and take them back to the instant before he had conceived of the time button. Everyone, including the nasty robot Bender, would get to live their lives over again, but they wouldn't remember anything that had happened. Fry and Leela decided to go around again, and they were excited at the prospect of living their lives over again. They knew that they would make different choices and have different experiences, but they were ready for the adventure. As they prepared for the anti-chronoton blast, Fry raised a toast to their life together, and Leela agreed that if she could make one moment last forever, it would be this one. In the end, they were grateful for the time they had spent together, and they were excited to see what the future held. They knew that they were meant to be together, and they were ready to face any challenge that came their way. The professor presses the button and everything goes back to normal, marking the end of the episode and Season 7.